my life was, on one hand, very successful because I was living a part of my dream. I was definitely doing some of the work that I was meant to do on the planet. And it was in New York City with a luxury condo that I was living in and all these different things that we think are the thing. And so it was fun. Some of it was really great. And then there was also this void that I felt. And I couldn't quite put my finger on what would fill the void, but I knew there was a void. I knew there was a lack of fulfillment that I had to reckon with, but I didn't quite have a map to it. But then I heard these tones out of the singing bowls and the gong, and that felt like it. And so I just knew that I needed more of that and less of showing up on television talking about things that really didn't matter at the end of the day.
Why is it like they didn't matter? Because it was like, do you feel like it wasn't fully authentic, or what was, because it was, like you said, it was also things that you do care about, or you...
Some of it was very disposable though. Like the actual impact on people is not something that I could actually feel particularly satisfied with.
Right.
And so short of really understanding what the impact was, there was this void of feeling like the effort that would put into any given show would actually translate into the impact that I felt would be leaving the world better than I found it. I'm the type of guy that likes results that I can feel.
Yeah.
And so sometimes television could translate into that. And so on the high end, I would sometimes have a fan come up to me and tell me exactly what something meant to them. And then a dot would connect around why sometimes the programming I was a part of mattered. A lot of times it just felt like it was candy. It was ultimately a distraction from people actually doing the real work that I see now in these spaces that I facilitate.
Do you feel like that's also because a lot of this, let's say, when we talk about like artists and celebrities, and it's like we're actually focusing our energy on someone else, and yeah, it can be a mirror, but for a lot of people, I think that part can be unconscious as well, where it's like you're actually, so what you're talking to an artist, but and then there's like, let's say, I don't know, 1 million people watching at some point, probably a lot more. I know the show was very popular. A lot of those people will root for those artists, but wouldn't translate it into change in their own lives. Whereas now, when you deal with people, you actually have impacts on their actual lives.
Yeah, it's a completely different orientation, I think. If you're watching someone else sharing about their dream being realized, maybe you can see yourself in their story, and then you would then feel empowered to go and live your dream. That does happen. And
of course, that's why we're here.
Totally.
Yeah.
I think media and storytelling is incredibly impactful. And then there comes a point where we got to go deeper. We got to really do that psychic and soul surgery on ourselves that only we can do to really weave that very unique dharma within ourselves that might have been sparked by someone else living out their dharma, but ultimately you can't map your dharma to someone else's. Right. You got to find your own. And so for me, being in sound and psychedelics, I will name, give credit where credit is due.
Yeah.
To the great magic mushroom, ayahuasca, MDMA. Those are the things that help me the most, actually, to hear my truth, because there was a lot of distraction. And it's very sexy sometimes. There's a lot of dopamine involved in these distractions. And yet when we get still enough, when we can really tune into what the ancient Greeks talked about as our gnosis, the embodied wisdom, which tends to only be decipherable in a certain kind of condition. So creating the conditions for that kind of relationship with our own inner wisdom is even more fulfilling. And I don't mean to make my world in television and music industry wrong. It's just one of those things that we're on a spectrum at all times. And it's important to name things what they are. There's the shallow end of the pool and there's the deep end of the pool.
Yeah.
And I wasn't ready for the deep end of the pool.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. I think most of us need some time to get there. Right?
yeah, totally. Till we cannonball into the deep end of the pool.